Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I am here for season 2, episode 4 of Behind the Bouquet, and I am with the incredible Tanya Pushkin of the Vow Whisperer. This is an incredible company that you guys need to know and learn about. I had so many questions when I first met Tanya a few weeks ago, and it's kind of flourished from there, and I've learned so much, and I can't wait for I can't wait to introduce my clients to her. And she has so much to say and so much for us to learn from.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
It's a pleasure. It's wonderful for you to be here, and it's wonderful for me to be doing this.
Yeah. Tanya has a relatively new company, but it's such a niche in this market and so needed that I can't wait to dive in and talk to you about it.
Well, it's a secret.
It is a secret.
It's a secret, and no one knows that there's a service like this until they're told.
Right.
So it is this very well kept secret that I hope
It doesn't stay a secret.
Doesn't stay a secret. Exactly.
So how did you get started, and what's your background? Because to have a service like this, you need some art involved, you need creativity and language. What was your thought process when beginning this?
So that I could take 20 minutes to answer that question. Essentially, I do come from an artistic background. I was an actress many, many years ago, had a great career, gave it up after 10 years, had 2 kids, and worked my way up the corporate ladder doing PR and philanthropy and a whole bunch of other things. But while I was in this big corporate career life, I was helping lots of my friends get married with their vows, etc., and I was just doing it as a gift. And I did, over the course of about 10 years, probably about 40 couples.
Wow.
And I would help them with their vows. And it was just something that came extremely naturally to me. Last April, I got remarried, and we did our vows, of course. I did not help my husband with his. And in fact, he did his vows on a spreadsheet. He's in finance, and life is a spreadsheet.
So that's probably why you love him.
Because everything's so well documented. Yes, and in fact, I use his piece of paper with his spreadsheet. It's really quite something.
Sometimes
anyway,
they have good ideas.
So after our wedding, the guests were all just, gushing for weeks about our vows. And one day I was having lunch with a friend of mine who had been at the wedding, and I said, I've been doing this for so long, maybe it's time to actually do this professionally. And over lunch he said, "You are the Vow Whisperer." And I went home and got the URL, and then that was it. So it is a very new business. Mm-hmm. I've got a lot of traction already, which is wonderful. Yes. I love doing this, and what I find is that I'm using my acting skills. All of that, it's like a full circle. My writing skills, even though I don't write the vows for people, my writing skills stem from my public relations mm-hmm. days. I also did a lot of writing journalistically, so that's also in my background. Right. And putting all of this together, I've also joined, and you might agree or you might not agree, I feel like the wedding industry is a very happy place. And coming from a pretty toxic corporate life, I think most people in the corporate life would say it's very political.
Right.
And I feel like the wedding industry is less so.
And I think the good vendors, it's a happy place.
Yes.
Because they understand their value.
Yes.
And they make sure to always produce that value for each and every client. And so
right.
You can absolutely see that when you get a whole bunch of vendors who know and love each other in one room, you don't have to worry about a thing.
Well, that's incredible. I've been to some of these industry events, and it is just, there's a lot of love in that room.
Love.
And support. And
mm-hmm.
what I'm finding, I come from a world that was so competitive. And yes, the wedding industry, of course the vendors are competitive, but it doesn't seem to
Yeah, if I can't
translate.
take something happy to,
Right.
pass it along,
Right.
because you never know where your next referral is coming from,
Exactly.
and we know good vendors, and we have the same circle almost,
Right.
so
right.
we understand each other,
Right.
and you're always happy to pass it along, because essentially the goal is to have that couple that is having their wedding or a huge event happy.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then, for me, what I love the most is when I've worked with a couple, and then the referrals come from people who were at the wedding.
Yeah.
And I heard their vows. I love them so much. And it's that I love also.
Yeah,
Just
because for
wonderful.
you, there's probably at least 2 or 3 engaged couples at every wedding, and so they're always
Right.
listening and
Right.
zoning in
Oh,
on the
yeah.
details.
Oh yes. Oh yes. The menu cards.
Yes.
Everything. Yeah.
Where did you get married this past April?
At the Brooklyn Winery.
That's a lovely venue.
I love that venue, and I love the people there.
Mm-hmm.
I did not need a day of coordinator because they do absolutely everything. You
Mhm.
hand them the list of vendors and they take over. I also used to plan weddings way back, so I kind of knew what I was doing. But the winery, the staff there, there's no one leaves.
Yeah.
They've all been there since the beginning.
It's an incredible place, and
Yes.
it's beautiful.
It is beautiful. It is beautiful, and I just loved the very rustic.
It's intimate, like
it's
so
such-
intimate feeling.
Even if with 150 people, it is such an intimate.
Yeah,
Yes.
lovely.
Yes.
Sorry we got off course, but I love talking about wedding venues. So when you were describing your company, you said that you helped people write their vows. So to some of our listeners or viewers, something might go off in their head, like, oh, let me just quickly call Tanya and she can write these out for me.
Oh no.
Yeah. So what's your process?
So there are wonderful vow writers out there. In fact, I've met a couple of them, and they work very differently. With me, it's about the couple, each person. And okay, so by the way, I will meet with a couple one time only about their vows, together. I mean, because they are never allowed to talk again amongst each other together with me. The vows are top secret until the moment of. So
Is that for like emotional heightness,
well,
and I agree that it should be kept.
I think it should be kept secret. I've had only one couple who have said we'd like to read them to each other beforehand, which is fine, but I like it to be, top secret. Even if they do decide to read right beforehand, let it be a secret up until that moment. But we do establish the tone of voice, the length of time, which is important. In my wedding, for example, we never spoke to each other about anything but the vows. And mine were 4 minutes, and I think my husband spoke for 11. But it worked. It actually worked. For some reason it worked, and no one noticed. But I do like to balance it out. I do like to establish the length that people want to speak. And then we'll decide together how much humor. That's a part of my job, to make sure that each of them, if she's ridiculously silly, funny, giddy, and he's super serious,
We need some cohesive language.
Exactly. So we establish, how funny is it going to be? What is the feeling that you want your guests to have? Do you want them to be sobbing? Do you want them to be laughing? A mixture of both.
I'm so sorry to cut you off
Sure.
because I have a question.
Yes.
So you just brought up something. What is the feeling you want your guests to have? So when you're writing, or when you're helping create these, are you writing for both?
Yes.
Huh, I never thought of it that way.
Yes, because for me it's about the entire experience.
Okay.
And I am only saying that from my own wedding. I had never witnessed a wedding like this before, and it was not by design. We never spoke about it. Our wedding became a very interactive experience with the guests. It was as if they were part of it. And in our wedding photographs, you can actually see us, not just face to face, but interacting.
At the ceremony?
At the ceremony, you see both of us interacting, like and laughing like with everybody. So yes, I think it's an entire experience.
It's almost a performance.
It is a performance. A wedding is a performance. It's a huge production or a little production, regardless, it's
Right,
a production. If you spend $500 or $500,000, it's a production. And I think that moment, the moment of the ceremony, which frankly I think is the most important part of the entire wedding. And you're a
100%
planner,
agree.
and I completely respect everything that you're in charge of. I do feel the ceremony is the reason everyone is there. They came for those words.
Exactly, and the emotions are so high. You know, those 30 minutes before,
Yes.
Jesse and myself, we are fanning,
Yes.
calming, just take a breath, because the play is about to start. And, you know, once that ceremony finishes,
Yes. And I do very often, if it works for the couple, if geographically it works, I'm at the wedding doing the fanning. I am at the wedding very often, talking them off the ledge, if that's what it takes. Very often rehearsing the vows one last time. And
so that's part of your, can I call it a package?
Sure.
Is that, so that's part of your package?
Absolutely.
You have maybe a phone call a couple of days before for them to read through, or a Skype?
It's always a Skype, FaceTime, Zoom,
Got it.
whatever. If I'm working remotely with a couple, and I do work all over the world, if they're not here within the New York City area, I do work remotely. In person is fantastic. I will say though, in our rehearsals, I will make them stand up and use the vow book or the piece of paper, and I'm the groom or the bride or whatever it is, and we are rehearsing for real, and we do it before.
That was my next question. What do you recommend as is it a notebook? It's not your phone, right?
Oh God. No.
Okay, good.
No. I have, I work with a vow book maker.
Love it.
And her company is called The Art of Etiquette, and she's actually on my website. You can click onto her. She creates, I should have had one in front of me, she creates the most beautiful hand-stitched linen vow books. They're gorgeous, so I highly recommend people using. But do not write in that vow book until really like the day before.
Yeah. Because
otherwise, if you scratching out your
you'll be like, where am I going?
Exactly, you do not want that. But what I would love to do is go through my process.
Sure, sorry, we're getting
No, it's okay, it's okay. So if a couple reaches out to me, we have that first meeting. What's the tone of voice? What do you want your guests to feel like? And what do you want each other to feel like? Of course. Then we go away, we never talk to each other again, unless I'm officiating, which I do very often, and then that's a completely different conversation. So I work with a questionnaire, and that questionnaire is something that I recommend people do. They unplug. They really, really unplug. It can take weeks to work with that questionnaire, or you can bang it out really fast if you want. No phones, no computer, nothing. It's your time to really reflect and think and go back to those, what was it? What did it feel like when he proposed to you? What was the first time, when you met his mother, what was that feeling? When you first walked into that room and caught her eye, what did it feel like? So my questions really get you to think.
Yeah.
And I don't care how you write it. I don't care if you're a lousy writer, because I'll make it perfect, because in the wedding world, everything is perfection. I actually like it. I like the vows not to be totally perfect, because we are not in a perfect world. I also recommend that the vows not be a Hallmark card. After that questionnaire, which is a brain dump, those questions, which I've whittled down now to maybe 20, but they're really, really good questions. When you've answered that, then we get together, and again, it can be FaceTime, Skype, in person, whatever works. And that's when I start to ask questions. So, for example, why do you love him? If the bride has written, because Seth is so generous. Well, what do you mean he's so generous? And we dig, and we dig, and we dig. And I get to that moment where, for example, I was away on business and my mother was really sick, and he was so incredibly generous with his time. He checked in on her in the morning, he brought her dinner at night, and blah, blah, blah. We got to something really specific. It's storytelling. Right. You're up there
setting the scene.
You're setting the scene. And so I ask a lot of questions. I write everything down. They write everything down. And it's a collaborative process. We work together. We write the vows based on what they've written. And I put structure to it. I will continue to ask questions so that we really get specific. Mm-hmm. Meantime, I'm working with your spouse-to-be.
Right.
So I'm balancing out. So she spoke about this amazing moment when you blah, 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 blah. I'm going to kind of get that out of him. What was that moment like? So very often in the vows, there'll be that he talks about, it's, so we write together. This might seem like it takes a really long time, and it doesn't. I can work with a couple over a period of 5 hours, and we will knock this out. What I do that's something that I have found I don't have competition on. As a former actress, I will coach you on how to say the vows. So we've written your beautiful words, maybe 3 to 5, 6 minutes long. Now what? And most people are terrified of speaking in public. I will get them to the point where they are so confident. And may I say that there's so many people who come to me and say, I don't need any help. I'm really good. I do presentations at work all the time. I got it. And I tell them every time, no. And I've done 1 million presentations, and when I did my own vows, it's so different. This is
right, because when you're doing a presentation, you don't know the people in the audience. When you have your wedding, you know every person.
Right, and also you don't have that PowerPoint to refer to. It's just not the same thing. So I work with each one, and everybody is different. That I don't have anybody who, it's all different, and some people need very, very little work. Others need a lot, and they can continue to ask me for more and more time. Fine, we'll get it until it's right. And we rehearse standing up, like I said. If they're mumbling, if they're looking at this vow book and they're never looking up, if they're fidgeting, or I had one groom who was swaying, so all of that.
Swayer.
Are you?
When I'm.
You're not swaying now. It's really good.
Anchoring myself here.
God knows what I've done now. I'll have to see. So it's all those things: body language, posture, all of that. It's the whole ceremony. It's the presentation. It's the performance.
Mm-hmm. You hit on something that was really interesting. So you said to disconnect, and that is so extremely important, I think, in every aspect when planning a wedding or an event, because even when talking about design, Pinterest, everybody does Pinterest. Let's put it down and get inspiration from other places and create the trends, and then put it on Pinterest. But let's do something different, and I think it's so important. And when you hire reliable and good vendors, I think those are the ones that do it, that come up with a different vision, that understand, that go back to the wedding being about the couple.
Oh, it's got to be. And my work is really, it's about, the final product is a culmination of who these people are.
Mm-hmm.
And in the vows, it's not only your individuality, but it's you as a couple. And you're setting the stage for the rest of the night or the day or whatever, but for the rest of your lives. And I find that in my work, what's really good, I don't do premarital counseling, but there's so much that comes out of this that's really good for each person. Because when they're working on their promises, for example, which, okay, great, we come up with a few funny, humorous, cute promises, but then the serious ones, what are you willing to promise for the rest of your life? This is serious stuff. It's about meditation. This is serious. What are you promising? And when they're working on that, that's like you're setting the stage for your marriage.
Right.
So all of this is a different experience. Every wedding is a different experience. The ceremony is truly, truly, I don't like the word customized, but that's what it is. And we are not copying anybody else.
Right.
We are not taking from her Pinterest flowers and his suit and her dress and, you know, the peony over there. No, this is the rawness of your hearts. Wow, that was good.
Yeah.
Never used that before.
Right.
Good one. Yeah, this is as unique as you could possibly get.
I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's such an important service, and I feel like 2020 is going to be incredible for you.
I hope so.
Have you ever been approached to do like best man speeches
Yes.
and maid of honor speeches?
Yes.
Is that
Yes.
something you've done?
Yes, I've done a lot of those actually, and also over the time of
Right.
doing all these gifting for other couples. I did speeches. I have a funny story, a very quick one. I had done a wedding party, the entire wedding party, their speeches. I had officiated and we had done the vows, so I'd done the whole thing. And came time for the speeches, and I was a guest, and which is great. I love seeing my work, and I don't like going home. I like staying and seeing. But came time for the speeches, and everybody was pretty drunk. The uncle got up, and he was like, I mean, we had worked so hard on this. He couldn't do it. And the bride came over to me, whispered in my ear. She knew I had the speeches all printed out in my bag. She said, I know he wrote a beautiful speech. Would you please? And I got up and I said a speech. You know. But yes, I do those. I do. They're fun.
Yeah.
A lot less work.
I'm sure.
Yeah, a lot less work. There it's just about, let's find one experience or two moments. Succinct.
Please.
Like a minute or two.
Yes.
Don't go on and on and on and on, which is what people do.
I know.
And then the worst is when it's like, does anybody else have anything to say? No,
Nobody
don't
has
go there.
anything to say.
No, exactly.
Well, thank you so much. I'd love to give you an opportunity to share your Instagram handle and
Of course.
any website information.
So the website is thevowwhisperer.com. My Instagram is @thevowwhisperer. And
What other social media?
Facebook. So Facebook, yes, of course. That's it.
Yeah.
I am not on Pinterest yet. Should I stay away?
I have a good working relationship with Pinterest.
Okay.
It's a little overwhelming for me, and like I said, it's so hard to really organize my thoughts on there, which I know that's what it's meant to do.
Yeah.
So,
I will add one thing that's important. Think about your ceremony. Don't wait till the last minute.
yeah,
Ideally 2 to 3 months before, come to me. And I also, budget-wise, I'm a blip on the budget line. But leave a little tiny bit. Don't spend it all on everything else. Leave a tiny bit for your ceremony, which is so important.
agree 100%.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. This has
Thank
really been a
you.
pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and we'll see you guys next week.
Okay.
Bye.